Hello and welcome to Guildhall. My name is Christina Strassfield and I'm the Museum Director and Chief Curator here at Guildhall Museum. We're delighted to welcome you here into the gallery, the Spiga Gallery, to see Hiroyuki Hamada's exhibition. Hiroyuki, I'm so excited to be here with you because your exhibition has gotten a tremendous response from the community.
I am very grateful, thank you.
Hiroyuki, I just wanted to know, first of all, when did you first realize that you were going to be an artist?
Well, I really started late. I didn't really grow up in a family where art is an everyday thing. Until I went to the college, I really didn't see art as something you can pursue as an occupation.
Where did you go to college, Hiroyuki?
I came to the States in late 80s, and the first place we ended up was West Virginia. So I took classes for English, and then I started to go to community college. So it was in the area. Then I went to getting master and all that, but that's after I got into art. Initially, I was doing psychology, and art classes were, I had to take those classes. And but I met this teacher who was a working artist, and as I saw him make things, I realized that visual language is a very strong thing. It completely transcends cultures and society and language and everything, and it just speaks to your heart.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
So.
Did you find there was any difference when, I guess since you really felt that you became an artist here in the United States, but in your background before you came here, did you have any?
I really didn't have any ideas about that. There was one artist in my family members. I do remember going to his place, seeing sculptures and things, but that was a distant memory. And so there was somebody, but I really didn't think of it as something I would be doing.
You usually consider yourself a sculptor, or do you consider yourself just an artist doing a lot of different media?
Well, that's really a tricky question. I did start out doing two-dimensional things. Drawings was probably the first thing I really got into. And also drawing is something I regularly do to have my connection with my hands, paper in front of me, just communicate. So it's a way to practice my visual language and sort of the way to be in touch with myself that's expressing somehow. And so then I started to do paintings, and sculpture came after that. And but the way it happened was also sort of intuitive. I wasn't really thinking about this is sculpture, this is drawing, this is sculptures. So my paintings sort of started to come out of the wall. I would do something with texture, I would do something with varied shaped canvases, and then at some point they had things sticking out, and then at some point they're freestanding, so they were sculptures. So, but I do paint on the sculptures still. Except for the one that I just did. That one, I used the surface material as a painting medium, I guess.
Absolutely.
So
The one that recently came to Guildhall does have a painted surface on it, so it's quite different than the one that we have exhibited right behind us.
right, that one, actually that one, the top part does have sort of similar feel, but that one is painted. I made this paint with asphalt and resin and solvent, a little bit of wax. So it was painted in layers and polished. But it also has a sculptural elements in it too.
The one that's behind us, right here, was created specifically for this exhibition.
Right.
And I know that normally you work on your sculptures for quite a long time, so you really were working double time to complete this for the process.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about how this particular piece came about?
This was something I had in mind for a while. I was thinking about, I had the idea, which starts from drawing, and it was something I was cultivating in my mind, and but it was I wanted to have it a little bigger than the ones I've done, and it was obvious that it was a little more complicated. So I guess I was probably a little hesitant, and then I heard about the plan, this space, so I thought it might be a good time to challenge doing it. So as you said, I usually spend a few years on a piece, but I usually have multiple pieces. I usually have 10 to 15 pieces at once. But with this one, this was the only thing, and so I was really concentrated on the process, and but I really didn't. If I thought it wasn't gonna do, I was gonna do, put something else. I really didn't want to have the deadline as a pressure to twist my mind. It's really hard to when you work on something for 3 years, and it's really hard to say that it sucks. You're biased. So I really was careful about that, and but it went really well. It was sort of like all the ideas I had about the material and the size and the process idea, everything sort of came together, sort of came out of my head in 3-4 months.
It's amazing, because I do feel that the elements are completely assembled perfectly. I think the surface, the texture, the form, the way it comes off the wall, the way it integrates the viewer into its particular space, I think all of those things really work beautifully in the particular piece. Can you tell us about the way the drawings, right on the walls we have a number of prints that you have to print. Can you tell me the difference between the process of approaching a print or a drawing and approaching a sculpture?
It's really intuitive. I think everything that happens in studio is very, very intuitive. By intuitive, I mean everything is connected. You have elements, dynamics over here doing this or that, but you have other things within the piece. Different dynamics over here, over there. So all those things are connected, doing their own things. And it's really hard to come to understand things as logical, straightforward equation. So with the paintings, the drawings or prints, I usually just decides that if they need this space, the main thing and the surrounding, and if the dynamic might be expressed as the essence of the piece within the format, I would tend to go for two-dimensional things. But with the sculptures, I rely on, obviously, I rely on the presence of the object. So I think when I have the idea in my drawings, they kind of decide themselves, right? And I kind of just listen to it carefully and just go with the direction.
Go with the process, go with the intersection. I think each one of these that we're looking at on the walls could easily be a sculpture, but you have to have, it has to speak to you in that format and has to come across in that way to you.
Right, right. I do think about those things too, but there are other ideas too. So just life is too short. It's just,
absolutely.
There's so much you can do.
There's so much you can do. And the process is just amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about the physiography that these prints are done with? Because they have such a beautiful, rich texture to them. And it's something that I was not familiar with myself. So.
Right. Well, the Papersography is one of the black and white printing technique. It was developed by John Cohn, who was actually initially an engineer for Epson, and he went out to develop his own set of ways to do black and white photography. And so his method uses color printers, but he convert the mechanism into black and white printing technique. So he uses his own software and his own ways of setting the algorithm with the printer so that he can use 7, 8 heads, black inks, to do what color printers would do. So it's one of the very sophisticated black and white photography printing method.
Everyone walked in and no one was sure whether they were actual drawings or they were actually prints. So again, the saturation and the gradation of the blacks is just really extraordinary. I really admire them tremendously. I think that when people walk into this room, they immediately felt that there was sort of a wonderful, calm sensibility. And I love the way we install the exhibition, and basically, because you said less is more, and I think having fewer pieces on really allows you to focus on each of the individual ones on themselves. So I think they really came together beautifully. Can you tell me a little bit about your philosophy about art in general and the way you see art transcending going forward?
Right, well, this is a really big topic, and there are many ways to talk about this. But my main understanding of art is that it is a way to explore the edge of our society, our social framework as collective beings. I mean, you know, I work in the studio by myself, but I regard myself as one of the members of the society, and I theorize what I do is a reflection of what we are as social being. So I think it is extremely important thing, because it lets you understand, let us understand what it is that we are doing today in the society, and it's a way to ask existential question of what we are. I think it's a very important piece of cultural activity that should be preserved and encouraged by the society, so that we can have this way of being imaginative and creative. And those things are really important ways of being.
I think they're important standards, and I think today, in our society today, unfortunately, they're not as valued as they should be. And I think with our government also, they're not as valued as they should be.
Right. I think it's a natural trajectory when the society values and prioritizes accumulation of power and wealth. It is bound to have the society that's hierarchical, and in order to keep it that way, there's a pressure to suppress creativity and imaginative ideas. So I think appreciating art is a way to kind of tap into that sort of realm of being human. Who has the potential to live outside the framework, which might not be humane, and I think that's, as you say, it's a very relevant thing today.
How does it feel to live in a community that supports the arts? I think that East Hampton and Guildhall especially has built itself as a regional art museum and really has welcomed the community on every level. But it's a very supportive artist community.
Right. I think that's definitely important, and it's important, and also it's a very difficult thing to do, I think, because it reflects the very structure of the society, which is very much stratified, as you can see, and I do hope that places like this would be more willing to incorporate local artists. And I'm really happy that you're showing myself and Alice and those artists who are from here, which is very important, I think.
It is, and that's what our Guildhall's mission is, to collect and exhibit artists of the area, and we're delighted to be able to exhibit artists of the area from every different level. So we're really delighted, and we're delighted that LTV decided to come to Guildhall and to film today in the gallery, so that we could have more in-depth conversation between such wonderful artists as yourself and the community at large. Thank you, LTV.